everyone, Miss Gingerberry here. Um, I know I haven't posted in a while, but I've been having internet issues. But what I wanted to talk about today is something that I think is very important, especially for um, solitary, especially eclectic witches, Wiccans, or pagans. I want to talk about aligning your beliefs and your practices and what that means and why you should do it. I'm going to try and keep this to a relatively short video because I've been having problems keeping them short. So, I want to talk a little bit about why we need to stop and have a moment of reflection when it comes to what we believe and what we practice and how those things match up. If you are a solitary, and especially if you are a solitary eclectic Wiccan, witch, or pagan, um, I think that it's really important to make sure that you know what you believe before you start adding practices and pulling practices in from all different, places, cultures, or traditions. Um, so it's really important that you have a good understanding of your own belief system and your own beliefs and where you stand on certain philosophical issues. For example, you should know what your concept of deity is. You should probably know if you are monotheistic or polytheistic or duotheistic. You should probably, have a good concept and understanding of deity and also of um, energy and power and where that comes from and how we use it. If you don't have a good understanding or concept or knowledge of what you believe, then especially if you're not out of the broom closet or if you're considering coming out of the broom closet, I think that doing this and aligning your beliefs and your practices would make it so much easier to explain to people when you do come out of the broom closet why you do the things you do. So for example, if they say, "Do you sacrifice animals?" You can say, "Well, no, I don't do that because it's actually contradictory to everything that I believe, and so that's why I wouldn't do that." And it can kind of help you, give you more confidence in your path. Um, and also, there's that one word floating around that nobody likes to be called, whether we're talking about religion or politics or um, money or education or anything, and that is fake. No one wants to be called fake or phony. So if you know what you believe and you have the practices that back that up, then it's seen as authentic. You have integrity as a pagan. Even if you are a solitary and even if you are an eclectic, then you're probably going to get a little bit less flack from the traditional, um, more, what is it called? Orthodox? I think that's the word. Um, Traditional paths. They might not totally accept your practices, but they can at least see the basis for where it's coming from. So I think that that's something that's really important to do is sit down and think about what do you believe and how does it show in your practices. I started doing this about maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, is I just sat down one day and I just wrote down everything that I believe, um, the best that I could. What do I know about deity? What do I know about myself and personal power? What do I know about power that comes from deity versus power that comes from self? And I started making just a list of all of the things that I believe, simple statements. And then I sort of grouped those together and organized them. And I came up with a statement with a set of beliefs that I then copied into the front of my book of shadows, just sort of as a basis. So now anytime that I have a practice that I want to add in to what I'm doing, I have something to check it against and say, okay, what does this practice say about the person who does it? And then is that something that I believe? So I have like a checklist that I can go down and say, okay, does it show this? Does it show that? Does it show this? If it is contradictory to any of those philosophical statements or statements of belief, then I know that it's probably not the best practice for me to adopt because it's going to be inauthentic. It's not going to be a genuine experience. I'm not going to come to it with an open heart, or I'm not going to come to it with it um, in the manner that it needs to be approached, with respect and honor, and actually considering what this practice is for, why I'm doing this. Um, so I found that through doing this, my practices have changed a lot from the beginning of my path till now, um, in the ways that I cast a circle, in the ways that I call upon deity, in the ways I call upon the elements. Um, so just a few things to get you started. What I'm talking about is sort of what Scott Cunningham hits upon in this book, Living Wicca. This is the follow-up to A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. And in it, he asks you to write down certain words, and beliefs is one of those words. He also asks you to write about tools and altars and rules. Rules are different than beliefs, just so you recognize that. Rules are something you should or should not do. Beliefs are your core values. Um, Symbols. So he gives you a lot of places to start. But what I suggest you do is just write down all of your beliefs. So this is one book to go to, and I'm sure that almost everyone has this book or has had it at one time. Also, this is the book that changed the way that I think about Wicca and witchcraft. It's called Witchcrafting by Phyllis Currett. And it does have some Wicca 101 material, but it does also go into further knowledge, and it's thought provoking. She has a whole section about the threefold law and why we may not even need the threefold law. So that's another good book to check out. And then the last one, and I know everyone is going to groan when I hold this up, Silver Raven Wolves to Stir a Magic Cauldron. Um, but I think it's chapter 4. Hold on, let me check. I'm not sure what chapter it is. Conjuring the Mechanics of Quarters. In this chapter, she goes over a whole quarter call. She just writes it out, and then she goes part by part, and she analyzes each part of the quarter call and what that part of the quarter call is actually doing and how it is acting in that circle. So it's a really good reading for matching up what you're saying and doing and what you actually believe should be happening at any point in time in your circle. And so I think that this is a good chapter. Now, if you don't own this book, you might not want to go out and buy it. It's not my favorite book ever, but I spent $3 on it. And I think that chapter alone is probably worth $3. But yeah, so that's what I suggest to everyone. And I want to hear everyone else's ideas on this. Is there anything that you did differently after considering what you believe? Have you changed any practices based on your beliefs? Maybe you don't do something in a traditional way. Why don't you do it that way? Is it in conflict with what you believe? So yeah, I just want to open up a conversation about this topic because I think that a lot of the conflict that we have over, if someone is a fluffy bunny or not, or if they're real, or if they're just playing around with witchcraft, or whatever it is, or if they really have knowledge that can add to someone else's experience or not. I think that a lot of that could be avoided if we sit down and think about these things, and a lot could be maybe it could help with coming out of the broom closet as well, like I said. So I just want to hear other people's thoughts about, aligning your beliefs and practices. How have you done it in the past? What do you think about it? Like I said, I really just want to open up a conversation and start a discussion. So I'd be happy to watch or read anything that you have to comment about, either via video response or through your own video or through commenting. So I look forward to reading responses. Blessed be.